Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go through. You guys asked me to do this, so I decided that, yeah, you know what? It's not that bad of an idea. Let's go through every single faded hero. I said that I would. I saw a couple people were interested in it, and I will give you guys my opinion on what things to strive for first. As you guys have noticed and everything like that, like, it's a pretty cool, intricate system. I think that it actually opens up a lot of stuff. And yes, thank you guys for telling me, like, you can go through here. But from what I've seen, I don't know why people were like, click on the thing, it's still the same rhythm. If you guys check out the other videos, the same rhythm, so 30%, then we go in there, it's 30%. It's pretty much based on whether or not it's a attack or a non-attack skill. So just keep that in mind, guys, that it's not really going to be that much different when you go into an FC. You know, these skills are not going to dramatically get anything randomly different, or nothing that I've seen. They're going to be the same as long as they're the same thing. The only time you're going to have any weird differences is going to be someone like Frankie over here. Frankie's gonna have a little bit of difference, and that's just because literally, you know, his S1 here, when you, okay, I gotta click it there, it actually turns into a damage skill. So then yes, it's gonna have that same passive, but it's the same thing. And also the numbers here change depending on if it's AoE or if it's not, because obviously 30%, 300% here is 15, and the reason why this one is gonna be bigger, oh, clicking all the wrong buttons. The reason why this one's 75%, which is a lot more, is because the base damage is pretty, you know, lower. So hopefully you guys understand that, get that into your magical brains, and we're gonna go through every single character, and I'm gonna tell you what I think that you should go for first, and then second, and then third. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and today's video is definitely 100% MFO, and the reason why I want to start off with that is because no matter what the hell I say, no matter how things go, it is going to be my opinion, and I want you guys to YFO what characters you guys think are strong. I already preluded to some of them that I thought were strong, but I felt that, you know, I should go over each faded hero so you guys have a nice little guide, review, whatever, of each faded hero in the unleashed potential. So if you wanted to go for that one, what would I go for? Because one, not everyone has every faded hero. You have to go based off what your account has, and as you can see, I don't have Rachel, I don't have Schmid. So, you know, someone with a Rachel, with a really good, you know, highly invested Rachel, you know, what should that person go for? So let's just go in the order, and I'm going to start off with Garff. So Garff is in the building. So as you guys know, I already discussed that all of the tanks, I don't want to go through this again, I'm going to say it from when the first time happens. Tanks, they're going to get additional AD, they're getting additional defense on their attacks, and I think their supports, they get defense on themselves. So as far as that is going to be decent. And then of course the passive is always going to be the same on each character. It doesn't even matter where is it, unleashed potential effect. They're going to reduce damage by 15%. Now when it comes down to Garff, I think the issue with him, especially as a general, is that he's going to have other characters in there. If you plan to have a support with him and you're investing into the support, I would just tell you to just invest into the support passive, because at the moment we don't know if this stacks. It can't be stacked, so it could mean that you can't do two defenses. But if you could do a defense and a support, then I would definitely go with this first, because mitigating damage is what is the most hardest thing to do in this game, is to not die. If your characters don't die, it's like a big explosion of things. So him having the command, increasing everyone's health and defense, and then also reducing damage taken is great, because there's a bunch of other stuff that reduces damage. As you guys know, Dorka reduces damage, you know, Tranquil gives you a second life. There's many ways to stay alive, but yet we all know that the cleave still happens. So I would still think that unless you're going for support alongside him, and whether they stack or not, his thing is only 15%. So, you know, maybe just adding more damage. But if not, I think the passive, and I'm going to probably say this a lot for a lot of them, I think the passive is more important to get first, because you're just damage mitigating. Garff doing a little bit of extra damage on his skills doesn't really, to me, like, I mean, this is a lot, because his 420 base and then 75% on top of that is actually really strong. So I definitely think that this is, because this is his main move, and honestly, so I would think that that's with the one you would want to go with first. But I would probably go passive, S2, and then S1. Now when it comes down to Rachel, I think Rachel, the attack, the sword people, they have this weird passive here. Oh my god, how many skins? How many skins? And thank you guys, by the way, for telling me that that's how it works. You just click on that thing and then you can see all the skins, but they're all the same. So so as you can see here, the unleashed potential effect here is that it's going to gain his mana when the round starts. So every time a round starts, you're gaining 1 mana, it says here. I do think that that's just not that good. The reason being is just that it's just, with all the other nonsense that's going to be happening. A lot of turns are going to be getting reset and stuff like that, especially when we go over to the skills and the assault based characters. And I've already said that there is no assault non-attack skill that I think that is in the game for the Fadeds anyway, so there's no way for me to see, you know, what that is. They might introduce a character like that eventually, but they currently don't have it. So when you guys look here of this, you're gonna get resets turn 1 time per round if owned mana is under 3 after the skill hits. So for Rachel, this is the first thing you're gonna do. Why? Because it's burst, so no matter what, you're going to go back down to 0 mana, so you will be under 3 mana on this skill. Plus, if you actually get a kill with it, your attack and your hit is going to be increased, and as you guys know, hit is going to be really important in my opinion coming forward with everything, because you're going to need to be able to hit all these dodgy characters, which I'm pretty sure is going to be somewhat into the meta. At least we all know, in my opinion, Shell's going to be in the meta to a certain degree. And what's really good is not on this, but on this actual FC skin with the blue fake core, it does take some turns of the silence, not the silence really, the silence, that does suck that it takes a turn of the silence depending on who you attack with it, but the whole dance of the red rose is gonna tick that too, so it kind of expedites that before, you know, the round resets, you know, maybe that character dies or something like that through the tick. So really good application for all of the attack based characters that have this. So if it was me, I would definitely want to go with this first. I just think it's a big move. It's the move that you want to get off as quick as possible, and you got to get a turn reset. Maybe then go for the passive and then come back for the S1. I think that the order is a little wonky for some people. Yes, the passive thing is this passive thing is okay, but he's gonna gain mana like through the own mana system, like just the mana system in general, and he'll be able to do something. But when he actually does a move, you want it to do something crazy. Only in this FC skin here, the blue fake core Rachel, would I actually think that the S1 might be a little bit more important, because you can go for the silence. Also, it's 1 mana, if I'm not mistaken, in the skin. Yeah, it's 1 mana in the skin, so you can do it always on your first turn. Sometimes you can't always do the other skill, this one, on the first turn, because it's 3 mana unless you're doing some type of weird wonky stuff, or if you have the passive you can do it, but then you have to go through both. And as you can see, you don't really get these ultimate orbs that quickly. You get them, you do get them, but you know, it's going to take a little bit of a while to get all of them. So the same thing is going to apply here for Bathory. Now Bathory, you guys know, I clicked the wrong thing, I'm so bad, is also a sword character. I don't know what to call him. So for Bathory, I would have to go with obviously the big coup de grace. No, I'm just kidding. I do think that her doing this, okay, I just lied. Skill has to hit, and it won't hit under Summer's Blessing. So that actually makes it that it's probably your last priority now. I just did that, but it is still pretty good. But now with that being said, I think that it is bad. So I'll probably go S2 passive S1, because yeah, you know, you want to take Summer's Blessing off, or if you have a Rera in there, you know, or any a fast Greenland character that will take off the thing for you, that's up to you if you want to do that. All right, so now we have Frankie, good old Frankie Dank. So as we said, if you're gonna keep him in the other skin, it's gonna be a defense boost to him, but it really doesn't matter. You definitely don't care about that, because the Fear of the Abyss goes immediately on if, you know, do you have the defense to come in with it or not. So him boosting his defense mid-fight is kind of like not really a fan of that. I think for him specifically, I think you would just go with the passive first, just because like this is more of a utility move. Like you really kind of don't care how much damage this is doing. You're just really looking for the 7-turn freeze most of the time, and you know, looping it and then him just spamming mana. So I think that I would just go for the passive first for Frankie to make sure that my teammates are staying alive, make sure him himself is staying alive as long as possible. Then come back for the S2 and then go S1. That's how I would do it. Now here is our first Chaos character, so I'm gonna go into a little bit in depth of the Chaos. So for the Chaos, they're gonna get the bind, right? They're gonna get this bind effect. So attacks, afflict the target with a bind for 2 turns. It looks like for the low mana one, and then I think it's 3 turns for the one with the higher mana, right? 3 turns for this one. So that's pretty much what they're gonna get. They get a bind if it's an attack variation. So the passive is they get this additional damage, 1,000 piercing damage, which is nice. I'm assuming piercing is either full or somewhat partial in Nord defense. Nice to have kind of thing, but it depends on the character. And when it comes to Jinai, you really don't care. You're definitely gonna want to get your binds going, and since for Jinai, she does not have access to the skill. I think it is, yeah, it's 5 mana no matter if you have the skin or not. So it's very hard for you to have that on the first turn. So when she does go, she's gonna be somewhat last. She's relatively slow, so I think that it might actually be better to get this one first. You're gonna not have that much mana, but based off her passive, her actual FC passive, where all the shenanigans are going down. And yes, if, you know, the regular passive too, you actually might be gaining mana if people are putting on buffs and stuff like that. So there is a possibility. So I can see an argument with just going with the S2, you know, getting that initial bind for the 3-turn bind, which is not that bad. Honestly, it's not that bad. And also with characters like FC Shell and getting turn resets, you can definitely possibly put the bind in a really awkward spot that really screws over them. But remember, it's not like Valentina where it sucks your mana out. She doesn't have the mana depletion or whatever it's called. It just stops you from gaining mana, so you can't gain mana. But if you have mana already, it's fine. So just keep that in mind. It's not like a crazy thing like what I initially first thought, but it's perfectly fine. It's pretty good. It's not overpowered, but it is a nice thing. That's why I think for faster characters like Rera, it's going to be a little bit more important. So for me, I think I'm going to go with S2, or actually for me, I would go S1, S2, passive. Now, pretty much going to be the same thing for Dorka. Her skill 1, she's going to use it almost instantaneously. So definitely, as soon as she gets a turn, she's going to screw over a couple other characters. When they come with their mana, they're not going to get the mana from the target, like the people taking turns, like in their row. So you just kind of screw over the enemy team a little bit, and I think it's just worth it. So I'm definitely going S1 and then S2. But then again, this already has piercing on it, and I usually only use this as a finisher. So it already does good damage. So actually I'll go S1 passive. That additional tick of damage, I don't actually know if this is something like that beats Tranquil. I assume it might, but I would actually go S1 passive, S2. That's what I would do. And also when I say go S1, I do mean going fully throughout this thing, because each little tick here costs Unleash Potential orb. So it's just, in my opinion, better to just go all the way down, get it done with. And instead of it like going a little bit here, going a little bit there, going a little bit there, because you want to get to the end goal. You want that passive thing. That's what you want. So now we already know the nonsense here. So he has the turn reset because he's an attacker. So the first thing that you're going to do with Schmid, and pretty much the thing is, you're definitely going to do the Grey Storm. So I definitely think S1 is going to be the thing for him. And then him gaining mana per round, I don't know. I really don't like that passive, so I'm gonna probably always put it at the last. So for me, S1, S2, and then the passive. I can see the passive as a strong second, just because of the fact that you with certain comps you probably can get him that he can S1 on his first turn. But I feel like he'll always be able to S1 on his first turn because he's not tier 1 speed. Like, he doesn't have over 100 speed. He's like slightly slower. So he's not going to always go first. So as long as there are faster characters with him, which you normally would run him with Xian or with a Rera or something like that, so he'll get 3 mana by his turn. So then you just need to give him some love. Now we all know Rudley packs a mean punch, so I would definitely go with the same thing. It's like this, the S1, being able to go in there with the S1 and get a turn reset after that is pretty spicy. You're not going to have access to your S2 quickly, you know, and it's just, again, just giving you a nice little reset. But it does work immediately because it is a burst skill, so he'll always get another turn, but then he has no mana. And for Rudley, him just auto attacking really doesn't mean anything much. So I do like it with Rachel because, like I said, he just attacked a target and he could possibly do something afterwards. I really don't know, because they do have the burst skill that maybe the passive is a little bit better, so you can have that S1. So for me, I go S1 passive and then S2. The S2 pretty much does death. It's gonna do death. You don't really need an extra turn after that. You will gain 1 mana for attacking on that turn, but I think that getting that 1 mana per round to make sure that you can S3, I think that getting that 1 mana per round so you can S1 every turn, I think is a little bit more important. Just keep doing it because the S1 does enough damage. You never usually need to do the S3 unless it's a PvE situation. Most of the stuff I'm talking about is PvP, but PvE is also important, like to be able to spam skills and stuff like that. But keep in mind, with these attack-based characters, it is going to mess up your breaks in PvE, which are kind of important, you know, so just keep that in mind. Rera, we already kind of discussed on this. Rera, I'm definitely going with comps that she's able to pretty much do this on the first turn, her S2. So I definitely want her to S2, and obviously I'm talking about the skin, but the S2 in here to bind people for 2 turns, especially the other faster characters that didn't get their additional mana. They might not be able to do their S1s or S2s or at all. So I definitely think that you're going to go with the Galactic Baptism, hand over fist. But yeah, you could do it on this too, because at least on AI, if you do the AI, she's going to do this skill first, right? And then she's going to bind that 1 target, but it's random who they hit. I haven't seen a consistency on finding out what that is. And then last but not least, I come back for this passive to just do even more damage and then lag the game up entirely. just have the game completely lagged out. Valentina seems really weird because she kind of already has it, but it gives her the ability to not have to worry about it with Frankie in there, because she kind of already has the bind. Now, if you don't have FC Valentina, this is a nice way to kind of get a little bit glimpse of it, slightly. But obviously FC Valentina has the bind already, but she also has the mana burn. That's what it's called. She also has the mana burn. So it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of like a way to get it on her, as long as if she doesn't have Frankie, or Frankie did happen to not fear the abyss, that character, you have a way of stopping their mana, but you cannot mana burn them. So just keep that in mind. So for this character, it just seems kind of awkward. I guess if you have FC Valentina, I guess you might as well just go for the passive, because the other skills are not really going to do much for you. Might as well get some additional damage in there if you have FC Valentina, and then go for, I guess I usually just spam the skill, the S2. So I'll go passive S2 S1 for Valentina. If you don't have the skin, I guess then you could do one of the two skills, whatever one you use the most.
Stop bothering me.
Damn, that was disrespectful. Zagazao. All right, my man Xian in the building. He's gonna be a defense type. He has 2 attacks. Him again, especially because a lot of people in his FC skin, you guys already know his FC skin has the fun passive with the, where is it? The Blue Dragon's protection with the block. I definitely think that even without that, he doesn't do too much damage. So I would definitely just think that you would just instinctively just want to go with the passive to reduce damage, whether it stacks or not. I'm just gonna go with the passive, reduce the damage. And then if you want to go with the attacks, just go for the AoE one, you know, hit as many people and do as much damage as possible. And that's really about it. He's he's just an underwhelming character, unfortunately. We got the boy. Now this one is actually pretty interesting because Jinn is fast, and then he also has the FC skin. The FC skin, again, it's gonna still be the same thing. It's just gonna be the binds, but now it's just nice. Like, you got the binds, and he also has a silence if they're charmed. So he does. You do have some synergy with Jinn. Jinn has synergy with Jinn. You have synergy with Jinai, so you can charm them. This is also mana burns, and then the bind on top of that. So they're silenced. They're not gaining mana. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot of this crazy nonsense that you're doing here. And again, it doesn't really matter if you're in, you know, FC skin or not. In my personal opinion, I think you would just go with either one of the attacks. So with the current setup, and as long as there are a general in there like Dorka or something, or Jinai, someone is in there, he's gonna be able to high five you every single time he wants to. So the bind for those 2 turns, I think that's pretty good, especially if the character doesn't die, which is, even with the signature force, all that other nonsense, it's a high possibility that, you know, the character still might not die because of HP, tranquil, all that nonsense, but he could still be silenced if you're using Jinai. At least they won't gain any mana, which is really, really important if you're looking at the turn order. And then last but not least, you go for the passive damage. If the passive damage helps him get the turn reset, that would be pretty spicy, but I have no way of knowing that.
Are you done?
Next up, we have Neomi. It's going to be the same thing. You know, we're not really I just don't care for my tanks to do damage like that. Yes, there are some offensive tanks, but, you know, I'd rather just do this. This one for me is especially because it's like a double defense buff, and based on like how she works, I actually kind of like this. I would actually probably do this one first because I want to spam that and give herself a double stacking defense buff. And then once she gets that, maybe go back to the S1, because then at that point her S1 would actually do a lot of damage. It would be very strong because it's adaptive scaling. So then this will do a really good amount of damage, because her own defense by the time that attack is with this buff will actually be pretty strong. Now again, if you just needed to just sit there and tank and have everyone else take less damage, just go for this. But for me, if I was to play Naomi, I'd actually go for the S2, then S1, then the passive, because I personally, assuming that they don't stack, and I would probably, my first support is gonna have that. So, all right, so next up we have CC in the place to be. It's gonna be our first support. So she gives herself status effect immunity to self. Just keep in mind that even though she's healing everyone, she's only giving herself status effect immunity. So it's a pretty nice thing, I guess. But every support, the first thing I'm gonna always suggest is just to get this. Reduces damage against all allies by 30%. The only thing that I kind of feel this might work towards, I have to test this. I have to invest into it and test it. I feel like this might be only for AoE sometimes, because it's such a high amount, 30%. It could just, because it says against all allies. Damage against all allies, I feel like means AoE. And then if you read the other one, and you guys can quote me on this, I don't mind, really quickly, the difference between this one, it says reduces damage against all allies, right? And then you go to this one and it says reduces all allies damage by 15%. It is written differently, so I assume that they are different. But I think that the support one is only for AoE. AoE attacks, but I'm not exactly sure. That's why I don't think that you could probably use both, honestly. Either way, I still think that whether it works in whatever way that I think that it works, I think that you still want to go with this one first, just because of the fact that it's still a lot of damage mitigation. AoE is still prominent, though I can see that there is going to be an uprising of single target attackers. I think because, I don't know, it's just a prediction. I think that a lot of these single target attackers, especially because of like the Barakas, the Jinns, the Bangas and stuff like that, like these characters that don't really need to hit AoE, and I think AoE is going to keep taking big nerfs because most of the AoE characters are magic and they are already screwed over by Dorka. So like Dorka plus this already would just screw a magic user out of the ass, and then you have all the physical characters and most of them are single target. So I do think that that's going to happen. That's why I think that the dodge meta is going to be pretty much insane. But yeah, I'm still here. I'm going passive. S1, I just rather invest into her heal, and I just don't care about this. Like the additional damage on this, she doesn't do. She's not gonna do that much damage. It's just not that worth it. Now we know Ramge is a double attacker, so both of the skills are just gonna do additional. So here, definitely going with the passive first, and then of course I'll come back here for the additional damage on this because it's a good hit, plus the signature force, plus this a little damage. You might actually kick some even more. You'd have to go check out FG3000. He has a really good Ramsey, so like he'll show you the power of that. Baraka Flocka, whatever skill you plan on using on your first turn. So most people, I think I would just go Madman's Fury. As you guys know, he is with the bind, so if they don't happen to die at least they can't gain mana, so you can at least do that. Whatever skill that you personally feel like using. I almost would actually, for Baraka, since he has so much force behind his attack, that maybe just to ensure death, might actually just go with the passive first. So maybe for me, I go passive, then S2, S1, because I don't use the S1 that often, and then I use the S2 to actually go for kills, but I wanted to kill. So I would probably go for the passive first for the assassin type. I know I just mixed it up between it, but for Jinn, but maybe just go for the addition of damage. Maybe say the same thing for Jinn, just go for the additional damage to get the kill. But Jinn, I feel like, does less damage than Baraka. Like I never felt threatened from Jinn because his base damage is low. Baraka's base damage on his skills are way higher, so I rather just do that. Then we got Valar in the building. So he's gonna have the same thing with the defense thing. Now he hits the back row, right, with this thing. Hit the back row. No, this is the deal 1 damage to an enemy, 60% of his defense. Not that bad, pretty cool. Dreadnought has a really good Valar, FC Valar. You guys should check that out. But as far as like him doing more damage on his things, I guess for me, it's still, I'm gonna go with the passive first. I don't really care how much damage he's doing, especially when he's in his FC skin and he's doing all this attack breaking and stuff like that. I would just go for that, and I would then go for the AoE skill just to do a little bit more damage out there, especially applies game mana 2 minutes if the target dies, you know, like some stuff like that. So just do a little bit more extra damage, but the base damage is so low. But you know what, screw it, I'm going S2 passive, S2, S1, sorry. Now you guys already know, Shell in the building. I'm going with the passive first, hand over fist. Sorry boys, definitely got to go for that first. And then after that, I think I would still go with this second. The reason why I would rather go with this second is because it packs a lot of punch, right? And then you give yourself status effect immunity because you can't use it on yourself, so it gives you and another person status effect immunity, and it's for 1 time, so it actually doesn't have a turn. So I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of like that. Now the extra damage that a lot of people have been talking about for this skill, it's cool and all. I do like it. I think it's okay, but it's just, remember, it's gonna take a while to do it. So like you got to go through this whole thing to get to it, and I don't think it's enough damage. So I'd rather go for the passive first, and then more utility, because I like her as a utility unit, not as a pseudo DPS or anything like that. And then we got Uloom in the building. Uloom does so much, like and then now you can give it even more damage mitigation to the team. Super strong. And then after that, I'm going with this skill because you know, both of her skills are amazing, but for me, I'm trying to use this in PvE. I'm trying to just do overall this, and then the S1 already chunks, especially with signature force, it already chunks like a beast. So I don't really need it to do any more extra damage. Any damage is cool, but if I had to invest first, I'm gonna go with the AoE, because that's the damage skill that I'm gonna be utilizing a lot more. And even in PvP, I use the S2 before I use the S1. There's not that much times I need to snipe out a specific unit. I'm trying to go for the Guardian Stone break into signature force death. That's what I'm trying to go for. So more damage on it is better for me. We're almost done. It's a long video. I apologize, but like, you guys could be able to always reference. So we got Kylock here, and he has the thing. I'm gonna just go with the AoE. I haven't really used this character that often, so for me, I guess it would just be this is the AoE move, right? Maybe the AoE bind, because he's a slow character, so he can screw over a couple of the characters that their turns are coming first. But it's again just to stop them from gaining mana, but they probably have already gained their mana. So you know what? Because of that, because he is the slow character, I'm like having conflicting stuff probably. I might just go with the passive first, because at least with the passive he's going to do more damage, and then I just don't know how effective the bind is on a slow character. I think I had the same issue when I was going over Jinai and Valentina. It's just kind of weird because you're stopping them from gaining mana, but you're so slow that it's just like, how is that going to become effective? You know, because that's all bind does, it just stops from gaining mana. So I feel like it's okay on a quick character, but the slower ones, so I'm gonna go passive S2 S1. Now funny enough, Awakened Zeon is actually not a attacker, so he can't do this nonsense with the attack reset stuff. So he actually is a binder, so he's the same thing. He has the bind 3 turns. I guess it's based on the mana is what I'm seeing. So if it's below like 4, it's going to be 2 turns. If it's above that, it's 3 turns. So I'm definitely gonna go obviously with the AoE. Now he is a fast character, so he actually can screw over some characters by doing that. And then if you want, I guess they'll go later on get that additional damage, but he's gonna get the attack boosting from all the turn resets. And remember, it doesn't say that he needs to actually get a turn reset every time the turn resets, but we'll have to see that. I still haven't been able to test that myself, but yeah, pretty cool. Look at S2 S1 passive. Now Magi actually is a attacker, so she's gonna have the ability to do the turn reset stuff. There's nothing to really prevent her from not doing it, and I would definitely go, especially with mana utilization, and that she can kind of just do this double S1s for some Guardian Stone breaking nonsense and some other cool stuff like that. So I think I would go S1 just because of how cheap it is, and then possibly the S2, and then maybe come back here for this like later on, gain 1 mana per round. But she, with all the free mana, I just don't see the purpose of that. It just seems underwhelming. Mahar, definitely gonna go with passive S2 then S1. Just because the S2 is does a little damage, it lowers the defense a little bit. Now the S1 is not that bad because it does hit everyone, and then it provokes, and it gives you damage reflection, and then it would do a little bit of extra damage. I guess maybe passive S1 S2. I mean, it really is the passive. The defense scaling stuff, he does have very high defense, so it will do some decent damage. But he's not meant to kill anything. He's meant for the characters to stay alive and then like hit him. So like I guess, you know, it would have been nice if he actually had the support skill to increase his defense. Do you think you could survive this? Of course, definitely going with that first. After you launch that on your first turn, get an extra turn. Especially you can probably do that twice, and then especially if you have like Iris on the team, you could probably I know it's once per round, right? But Iris will give you a lot more mana, so you can kind of choose between how you want to go about your turn. But getting that Frostfang to be able to do that twice is actually kind of vicious. It's kind of vicious. The other characters don't have like that early nuke, a 1-turn nuke or 1 mana nuke. Now Rudley has it, but he needs 3 mana to do it. So definitely for Bernadette, she's kind of, I think she might be very strong actually with this change. If you can do double 300 nukes, especially with signature force, because it doesn't have to kill as long as it hits. Yes, Summer's Blessing is going to be a pain in your ass, right? But there's ways to get around Summer's Blessing. There's so many ways to get around Summer's Blessing. So like I said, if you have Rera's, if she is signature force, her signature force will trigger the Summer's Blessing. Then Bernadette will go, and then you can do double Frost Fangs 300, and plus that signature force might take somebody out. Just saying, might just take somebody out. So I would go S1 S2 and then worry about the passive later. Now Emma, as we know, is gonna have double attack scaling. I still think, again, do the support thing first and foremost, especially if it goes for the AoE. Again, that's gonna help her even more, outside of all the fancy stuff that she got in her new FC. And then you can have this even reduce more damage if it's the AoE thing like I think it is. So definitely still think going for that first. But the fact that she now has some HP scaling moves, and she already has some pretty good scaling, yeah, 525 plus 12% of her maximum health, that would do some hefty damage, you know. And then the signature force proc, so you can actually turn her into a pretty spicy DPS character. I think with this change, I know before people were saying but that she can do some decent damage, but now you really could have to respect her. And that this would actually force, if you're really trying to use FC Emma, I would actually think that this would kind of force you to maybe take her out. If you really wanted to have a broken FC Emma. So for, like how I was just saying, passive possibly first, you know, passive S1, S2. That's how I would do it. Now for Talia, she's a support, but she's pretty much the same thing as Emma. So she has 2 attack-based skills, but she's also healing every time she does it. Still want to go with the passive first, but then I'm gonna go with the AoE. One, because you know, you're pretty much gonna be using that more often than not, and then go back for the S1 afterwards. Her stacking HP is always gonna be great, so she's actually, I'm predicting she's gonna be a pretty crazy monster. Plus the dodging thing, yeah, that's gonna be stupid. Talia's gonna be stupid. I'm just telling you, she doesn't need, with the base FC stuff, she's already kind of stupid. She's gonna be able to dodge, get free attack plus HP, and then HP scaling damage, and then something else, because she's rumored to be the gold. She's going to be a monster, absolute monster. We got Bernavas, the bosom, God's bosom in the building. Still gonna go passive first. I don't care about his damage. He's a CC tank. He's meant to sit there and just lock you up all day. So if he does do it, God bless. Wait, is this a turn? Oh, it's still back row. But yeah, go with the skill, because it's really good. It's the skill you're going to be spamming most of the time, the mana 3. Or if you need to, yes, you use the S1, but yeah, whatever skill you think is going to be most useful. But yeah, get that passive first, lower that damage, make your team survive more. Bailey baby, again, he's a slow chaos user, so I just feel like he's kind of boned. He's kind of boned with the whole binding thing. I guess, you know, put it on a target with whoever you want. So for me, just gonna go with that passive first. Make sure that he's gonna be able to just do some additional damage, and that's really about it. I can't even. Here we go, Sabrina. Sabrina is gonna actually rise in the ranks in my personal rank because of the same thing that I said about Bernadette. She's the attacker, so you can actually string along multiple resets with this. Not multiple, only one, but it's still a big damage chunk plus signature force, and it's pretty much like a kill one target and then do it again. Or let's say if you were able to kill off one target in one round and you have tranquil, then you can just go at it again. You don't even have to use this twice, but it's just a really strong thing. And then of course, when you get to the Phoenix March, it's gonna give her a turn reset anyway. So for me, I'll definitely go with the S1, S2, and then come back for the S3, the passive, much later. But I think she's gonna rise up in ranks with the unleashed potential. Anastasia, same thing, gonna go with the passive for the damage reduction. And then so the heal, this heal versus the damage, this thing already does pretty good damage. I don't think you need any more additional damage on it outside of, you know, boss killing and, you know, dragon additional score making or something like that. So I think just giving her that ability to give herself a status effect immunity is a little bit more important, just because, and it's 2 times. I don't know, I guess that's when it's above 3 mana or something like that, it changes. So it's 2 times she can't be stunned or anything like that. That's pretty good, especially because of all the nonsense that's out there, and that's going to be out there, I'm pretty sure. So I think that that's really way more important. Chati. So Chati is a tank with a support skill and also a attack skill. So her attack skill, this is it, right? The attack skill. So it's gonna make it scale off damage. It does stun for 6 turns. Oh, you can actually see. Wait, is that intentional? Oh, I wonder if that's intentional. So you can actually see, I guess it's a little preview of what Chati's gonna do. So they changed her sleep into a stun, which is actually phenomenal, because a stun is obviously dramatically better. It's gonna be called the Miracle Meteor Drop. Now, what is her other thing gonna be called? So gains a barrier, increases our own HP, and then increases their defense. I think oh no, I mean, well, that's a stun no matter what, right? So yeah, I would go with this first. The Mighty Chessie. The reason why is because she just gains a lot of stuff. She gains a HP buff. She's gonna gain a defense buff, and then she's also gaming out the barrier, which yes, FC Shell can counter and bring into the stuff. But I think you need a strong Jinai, which everyone's gonna have a strong Jinai, so it's gonna be a little bit of a toss up on that. And you see the new passive. Nothing really crazy, but yeah. So this confirms also that the Dimensional Leap is the passive that's going on to all the characters. So I kind of figured that too. So yeah, she's gonna be stupid. Chati's gonna be stupid, and so will Talia. Just checking if they leaked that too by accident, but no, they didn't. But she does get the stun. The stun, changing a sleep to a stun is actually really good. So you can actually attack on top of it, which is really good. And that's going to be it. Funny she was the last character, so you guys have to wait until the end of the video to see that. But wow, that's a really good change. Makes you want to kind of look at Corgi. Nope. Corgi's not in here. But it's still pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hopefully you guys, if there's any disagreements or agreements or anything like that, let me know. But just, this is how long is this video. I haven't really done like a 40-minute video of like recording, and like it's actually a lot of it is relevant into what I'm trying to like talk about. We went from Garff all the way down, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and again, YFOs in the comment section below about what you guys think, who you guys think is super strong. Like I think like Bernadette, Sabrina can actually do that, and Sabrina doesn't even have an FC, so she's actually on par, which in my opinion she's probably gonna get a gold, not in this one obviously, but she's gonna get a gold probably in the next FC theme, and she's gonna become a beast. And I think Talia's gonna become a beast. I think she's gonna be stupid. Chati looks like she's on the verge of being pretty stupid herself. And again, she has a stun, so that status effect immunity that I was talking about on all the other supports kind of gets a little bit more heightened, right? Because if she becomes popular, and then maybe Bernavas becomes popular, because there's really nothing stopping you from getting status effect or anything like that, because now the barriers are becoming irrelevant because of FC Shell. Like, the game is getting into a crazy spot. If you guys are like paying attention to all these little changes, like if there's no barrier to worry about with FC Shell or even with Iris, then Bernavas should be coming into the meta, you know. But you know, people aren't really doing that. There's so much damage. I really want them to stop increasing all the damage and damage, so more strategic gameplay can go through. But they're still working at it, and every time they do this stuff, they do impress me. So it is what it is. But now I definitely want Chati. I definitely want Talia. I want Corgi I might pass on. He looks really cool, but he's gonna be pretty basic. Because I definitely want to still save up for the other 3 batches. Like it's crazy what's going on in the game. I know everyone's hype, everyone's excited. I'm going through chapter 14. I heard that you gotta fight that gold, which Adele, you're gonna fight the stupid golem, but I heard it is a little pesky. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I've talked too much. 46 minutes of recording. Hopefully we can get this video down to like 30 something. I pray. But like, comment, subscribe, and just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.